Good afternoon. It's Joyful Christian Hermit. Well, I've got the window open, got some sunshine, trying to air out and maybe get a little bit of the sage smoke smell out. And neighbor, she leaves stuff for me halfway out on a pile of pavers that I've got out there because I don't want her getting near and getting sick, even from whatever wafts out from my house. So I'm taking some extra kelp now, and because she says it really helps get her head cleared out. So working on that bodily. And I admit I've prayed and asked God to, let me know what it is that He may want of me with this ailment. And if not, but otherwise, I'm offered myself for however God can use me, and for whatever ways I'm learning in this added little sickness on top of the chronic condition. But there were some interesting. I've been talking, the last, not the last one, but two times before, I talked about evil and how we really ought to be not naive, because that's a lot of the things that happened to me that were not good, that I did not recognize. I was very naive to evil. Even in the nursery schoolhouse way back when my eldest daughter, we moved in when she was 2, I think. Yes, just barely 2. And at around 4, or a little before she turned 4, she was having encounters with something, and then lots was going on in that place. Not good. And I think now looking back, it was, a lot of it was coming from my husband then. And possibly something that remained in that house. Houses can be infested. Um, so I was naive. I thought, oh, this is coinky. I had no idea. Then I had other things happen I would have recognized even in the first couple of years of marriage. I noticed, one of his students, he was a 4th grade teacher. He brought home this big, darkly colored, graphic, big, picture this kid had done in crayon, dark crayon, bright, vivid colors, and had my ex-husband's last name started with E. Evil, and then his last name. And with horns, it's an image of the devil. And I just, it struck me, had the sense, but I buried it and laughed it off, even framed it, put it by his desk. He thought it was funny. And why he wanted my reaction, I guess. By then already, did we have the child already? We might have. Or I was maybe pregnant with the first. And you just go into a different mode, and me not knowing about such things. In the Protestant world I was in my upbringing, it was very sheltered. Although my grandmother, I think she might have said something at some point about the devil. But otherwise, I was very protected, very naive. And, but, bad things would happen. As with definitely since before a couple of other people, definitely one person I encountered and got sucked in, wasn't a good person. So there's evil out there. And I had evil things happen to me. Like the young man who was going to shoot the first person who walked down the street. He had lost his job and was had his wits' end. And in this crummy upstairs apartment of an old house on corner of Washington and Guilford Street in my small town. And I was walking with my clarinet, and I just thought, For some reason, I just glanced up or out of the corner of my eye, and I saw this thing sticking out, but it was too late. I got shot right here. It hit the bone and bounced out. I could hear it bounce out on this concrete. But I went into sort of a shock and, walked a little further fast. And just knew I had been shot. Felt there's a little bit of blood. Not bad, but I just kept walking. And my girlfriend was meeting me, so it wasn't maybe a half a block. And that was our meetup point where we each started from our houses to walking. And she says, "What did your mother do to you?" That was all she thought. I realized, even in 8th grade, my friend knew that my mother had a temper, but my mother would have never done anything to us, never hit us or things like that. But the temper, she ruled with that temper. And I worked around it, but my middle sister really didn't handle it at all. My eldest sister was more of a fighter and would fight back and create more chaos. I used to really resent that. I thought, just stop. And even with my dad, she would push the limits, and then there would be chaos. Of course, she deserved punishment for, what she was doing, but it was often out of sync. My dad didn't quite know what to do with 3 girls at times, I think. But very much a gentleman, but strict. And his mother had been very strict. His mother was very influential in his family. So we get all of these things, but I didn't really have evil, but that was evil. My girlfriend told her mother wanted to know why I was crying so much, and because the shock wore off, and then tears, my goodness, what could have happened? And so she called my mother, her mother did, and my mother, I guess, could hardly believe it, but she called my uncle, who was a judge, had been a long-time judge in the town, and he said, "For pity's sakes, Lois, call the police." So the police come, but oddly, they take one to take me to show them exactly, which house and everything. And I was scared, so they let my girlfriend come along. I didn't want to go by myself. And so we were in the back seat and showed them, and he still was up there with his rifle, the screen up, and it was winter time. I think it was February, end of February, so middle of February, but my goodness. But then they brought him out, and my girlfriend, we were like, "You can't put him with us," But no, they put him in the front seat between these 2 big burly policemen. Maybe he was 20 years old or 22 or something. Sad that he decided to react that way, but by the grace of God, it wasn't a high-powered rifle or anything. But he did time for it. He didn't have a record, so I think he had 6 months in prison for it. And they had to take the case to the next county because of my uncle, the connection with my uncle being the judge. But anyway, that was certainly an evil encounter that I hadn't thought of or anything in advance. I was just walking down the street with my little clarinet case. 2 good little girls going to practice together. So had already done our homework and etc. But in talking about the evil that can happen, and I realize, if we're around people with evil in them, the devil in them, it will affect us. But whether we recognize it or not, that's why I say become aware, be knowledgeable, educated on these matters and what to look for, what to sense. Do not bury it. Do not talk yourself out of it. Like, I would do that often, like with my husband, like, oh, other men. This is probably typical of men. I didn't know men that well because my dad was gone a lot, and he was a very mild man and quiet and great sense of humor, very kind, and stopped drinking. So he was just a gentleman, a peach, a wonderful man. Everybody loved him, and it was deserved. It was very good, known as Honest John, very honest and upright. So he, I just wasn't exposed to evil. We didn't have that much TV and we didn't watch much. I did watch the Perry Mason mysteries and I read those too. Even from a young age, I've always liked mysteries. But, and the bad people getting caught. So I had evil in that, but it was fiction. So, but I got some comments that I thought were very good, very interesting to think about. Um, uh, One of them, I thought this was an interesting take, reminded me of a friend who works in construction. As he grew closer to God, he didn't want to engage in the types of talk that goes on with guys in construction. So he would just walk out of the room or leave the area. As he put it, people figured out what was going on. And if they wanted me to be around, they wouldn't talk about those things. And those that kept talking like that weren't people that the man wanted to be around. Same with when this commenter's wife, and he go out to watch a football game with some of his guy friends. They always use nicer language when she's around, and we never asked them or told them anything. They just could sense God in us and reacted as such. So I think that's a very important point and something to practice in our lives. And obviously, stay close to God. Stay in the living word. Pray. The Lord's Prayer, it's the prayer Jesus taught. It has all elements in it that we ever need. And it includes being protection from evil, to be protected from the evil one. And then don't shrink back. I liked what his friend did, this construction friend, of just removing himself. He didn't chastise them or goody two shoes, I'm great and you guys are awful. Well, he was great and they were raunchy, but he didn't put it. He was humble and charitable in that regard and just removed himself. And they got the message, and eventually wanted him with them, but nothing needed to be said. They didn't have to debate it, or he didn't chastise them, or tell them off or anything. Just a quiet interaction, an exchange, making a point, quietly, humbly. And I had a friend who her husband would not allow her to read anything or pray at home. Nothing. No reading, no spiritual reading. She was lucky she got to go to Mass on Sundays. He passed, and she was in a terrible marriage, but couldn't face it and couldn't leave. She wouldn't. I love him so much. People can get really stuck, and she didn't have any reasons to have to stay with him. But she was in an abuse cycle that she couldn't get out of herself and wouldn't go to therapy. I tried to get her to do that or to get support or even try a separation. I felt he would have crumbled really quickly and straightened up, but she didn't want to do that. But he passed, but she at work then was her only time at lunch break or at break time to read her divine office or her prayers. And she would do it in the break room, and other people wanted to talk with her. So, she would ask me lots of things and for advice. And I said, well, it's rather awkward and then her best friend was angry with her and accusing her of being a goody-goody and better than her, trying to show off that she was better. Well, even comments like that is evil, to say that to someone who's genuine. And this other woman knew her situation at home, I'm sure. So I think she even explained, this is my only time, but I suggested then that to sacrifice, that God would understand, and to sacrifice, especially if it was her best friend who wanted to talk over things with her at break time. But otherwise, I said also, you could go out to your car at lunch, or go outside someplace, have your lunch, and read privately. And then that will avoid the disruption that was occurring, people making assumptions of her. She's the most humble, loving, caring person, sensitive and beautiful soul. So, but she started doing that then. I said, maybe choose 3 or 4 days, and then the other day be in the break and vary it. And if, if you think that you can forego for another day, then another day in the break. Or if no one's speaking, or if your one friend doesn't have the same break time, then go ahead and read your things. And if the others don't mind. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can also put, I used to do this, I would put book covers over. Just plain like sack, cut out a sack, or use big sheet of thin construction paper and make a solid book cover. They can't see what book you're reading then. And then it won't bring up anything that's upsetting. And take books that, aren't obviously the Bible if people are going to be angered by it. But it also can be a witness to people. So you have to sort of, discern the situation as it comes and as you're in it, and not shrink back. But also, if it gets to a point where it's really going to interfere with someone who you could reach in a Christian way better without them angered that you're reading and not reading something Christian, if that's going to be the point of the non-Christian, I personally think it's better to massage the situation, massage it, and work them in other ways then. And she'd go out to her car or just outside on a bench and do her reading, and and then that didn't bother the friend as much, because she could say, well, I just need to get some fresh air, I need some alone time, things like that. So but I like this also. This was great. Thank you, Christopher, for this comment and this idea. And also, most people will respect and sense God in us. And like they respected him and his wife, Christopher and his wife, then they just automatically changed their way of talking around her. So, but there is evil out there, even if it's subtle. And we could say there's gradations. There's evil, there's wrongdoing, there's testing the waters, kind of bad. There's naughtiness. There's, little pokes, little antagonisms that are subtle, sarcasms and things. But that's a lower gradation. Still, it's not good. And the intention, if we discern souls and situations, we can sort of judge in a critical thinking way, not condemning kind of judgment, but a discerning way, what level of not good it is, and then make our decisions accordingly. And figure out a game plan, how we're going to deal with this. And some people we need to walk away from. Some people we need to get away from, even if it's going to mean a divorce, a separation, a divorce. If we've been duped If the marriage was a fraud and the person portrayed himself or herself other than how they really are just to win over someone, if someone's, got a disorder like that, and there's many people with them. So, and then discern even within our families things that aren't good, habits, vices, and protect ourselves. Maybe we can't get out of the situation, but we can hold firm. But we recognize, face it though. I think reality is best. My naivete did not help me at all. And a lot of it was my own. Burying other things going on that I didn't want to go back and deal with or do. And here was this opportunity of this new life. And of course, I fell in love. I truly did fall in love, got swept off my feet. But my initial take is I'm not attracted to that person. But, my best friend was with my cousin, and the cousins, that's how they invited my future husband over. And I thought, well, may as well date or something for the summer, may as well have, so I wouldn't just be here alone with my best friend out with my cousin all the time. It's a little, it wasn't much fun. So then we double dated. It was lots of fun. We had so much fun that summer. And but I didn't detect. I had little inklings though, and he was not at all like my dad. But I thought, well, get with it, get with. I blame myself. Just get with it. Don't be such a prude or so naive, I guess, about men or guys. This is how guys are, probably most of them, and some are like that. He's more his language. I wasn't at all used to anything of that language. But, he went to church with me. He said that he had been ironically, a Methodist and a Methodist youth minister. That's what I am. Well, of course, I'd already said something and he picked up on it. So, so now that was the one I thought was good. And then there's this comment. I am so lucky with God within and on my side, I don't even see evil. It simply does not come into my life nor mind. Blessings. And no evil is weak and enters if you think it will. So that was an interesting take, and I wrote back that, wow, yes, you are lucky. Lucky indeed. Oh my, this is a gift. I want people who read this comment to know this is rare. This is a rare and unusual gift that, not that God's within and on her side, or his side, no, which, but it's, that's for all of us. God's within me and on my side and on all our sides, and he's in all of you. He's in even, I think, those that reject him, but they don't know he's in because they've rejected. Or he's just right there. But if they blaspheme and turn against all their lives, then he's not. They damn themselves. We damn ourselves if we keep rejecting God and church, because church, remember, is Christ the head, and all of us believers is the body. That's what church is. That's what the church is, in essence. Sort of a theological basic is Christ the head and us the body. That makes up the church. And Jesus expressed that, with many, many metaphors, and also as he established it. He said, what he was, and that we were his. We belong to him in the church. So this person doesn't see evil. That is a gift, a rare gift, not to see evil. Or, like on my part, it's being very, very protected and not seeing the news, or because you can look at the news and you'll see evil day in and day out. You'll see it. Now, if you don't see it somehow, but you're looking at the news and you don't see it, and you're not a protected person and not naive, not hidden away, even these children, like in Switzerland, the mother, I think, had passed or something, and the dad had kept them down in the basement in cells, and he would go down and rape them. And I think he would finally let the one up. And there was a case of kids in the United States that the parents did that. Kept them chained, and they didn't see the outside world. They were kept from anything of life, didn't know, were malnutrition. When they were found finally, one girl escaped finally and got help. But they knew nothing of the world, but they had seen evil in their mother and father. They knew evil from how they were being mistreated. So they were being beaten a lot, starved, and brainwashed and things. So this is rare. This is a gift, unless that person has been insulated from life. So, and I don't think so. So I think the person just has a rare gift that has never seen evil. I do not even see evil, and it simply doesn't come into my life, nor mind. So that's rare too, because, haven't had it in a long time, but it's usually a progression in the spiritual life where the devil will start attacking through your dreams. And there it will be, you'll wake up with a nightmare. And then, but then also the devil will be in subtly using, or like in my case with these nudges I would get, I would see things, I would sense things, but my mind would shut it out because the wedding had, just been maybe 2 years or something, or even a year and a half, or I think even 3 months, 2 months, he did something. 3 months after the wedding, he did something that was passive aggressive at me, and very upsetting. I buried it. I turned it into that he was joking around. And even the neighbor came out at one point. We were in an apartment, so she heard this. And it was a kind of thing that you could excuse as horseplay. As he just kept shooting me with rubber bands. Wouldn't stop. And at my face, shooting me at my face, anywhere. And laughing, and I tried to get out of the way, get to another. He would just follow. He just kept shooting me with rubber bands. Finally, I went out of the apartment. Inside, I kept raising my voice more and more. Stop shooting me. Stop shooting me. At first, I thought, well, he's joking around, and sort of laughed. And then I went out saying, stop shooting me, stop it, and getting out of there. Then she came out and was just horrified, thinking, shooting with a gun or something. And then he started laughing and says, oh, we were just joking around. I was just joking around, just a rubber band. And I said, oh, yeah, because my mind wanted it to be okay. But deep down in, it didn't register well. I remember it. I hadn't remembered that in a long, long time. So, so evil, in my case, I saw it. I saw it with my dad taking over before he stopped his drinking. When I was real little, I remember I was in kindergarten. My grandmother was there because my mom was working on her college and stuff, so she was living with us then. And my grandmother had given up the family home to my uncle because he had more children and not as um, high paying a job as his brother. So he was given the house. He bought it from her over time. You know, it was a good thing for everyone. And my grandmother just took turns living with her children, helping out. It was great for everyone. I loved it. And so she was there because I was home from kindergarten, and my dad got home early from his travels all week, but he was throwing up in a little half bathroom, very loudly and everything. And I was so worried. And my grandmother could tell I was just very worried because I would always get excited about my dad getting home. I didn't see him much. And he had just brushed me off and, was gruff to me, which I thought, wow, what? And my grandmother says, well, he's just sick. He just has the flu probably or something like that. She would never have lied outright, but gave that suggestion. Probably has the flu. Of course, wasn't going to tell me. I wouldn't have understood then. But I did by the fourth grade. I understood when this one uncle brought him home. My mother would call him, and he'd bring him home from the country club. He'd stop there instead of coming home and get drunk. And he came in all drunk, and I'd fix supper. It was my week to do the cooking, the evening cooking, and he just really tore into me in his drunken state and really built up my sister, and which I think he related with her. And since she was the middle child, he had been a middle child, and I think he sensed, I was larger by nature, bigger size or whatever, and maybe sort of being protective or building her up somehow. I don't know. But just the way he was talking and the state he was in, I had never seen him like that. With the thing and the bombing stuff, my grandmother kept me away from him then all afternoon. Had him go to bed or something. I didn't see him even come out of the bathroom. She kept me busy. But protected me. I was protected from it. My two sisters knew, my older sisters knew, but they were 3 and 5 years older. But when I was in fourth grade, was hit with that, and it really threw me. I went to the bathroom. I was just sobbing, and I thought he was going to kill me or something. I just never seen my dad just so altered and so awful. Evil was in him. They call it the demon drink, It's true. That wasn't my dad. And 2 years later, he stopped totally. But I tell you, it altered. But my mother, I was forced to go back down, and which I don't think I would have done that to my kids. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how I would have been. But, my kids had to stay with someone who, well, not for long. When he started being overt, one time, that was it for me. But I already knew all this other stuff that he had said to me. Some honesty finally had come out. Not much, but enough. But yeah, so this is unusual to, not have evil ever come into your life or your mind. So rare gift. I'm telling you, people. Don't count on this, please. Don't be naive like me and then get tricked, duped. The devil is very, very, very clever, very deceptive. Like, at this point, how the devil works with me is so subtly, but not much. I mean, it still tries, but it doesn't get anywhere. That's the place you can come to. And maybe, but if this person hasn't come into this person's life, nor mine, I assume that means ever. But we can work to this point where, we have such a shield, or we're so, like when I look at the newspaper, I see the evil. It doesn't affect me other than in great sorrow for the people that the evil has gotten into. Like that man who in New York subway lit a woman who was asleep on a subway and then watched her, fanned the flames, and sat down and watched her burn up to death. And horrific, evil, and other. There's every day. There's so many. It's not even all in one news source, national news. There's many things going on, and in other countries, not just this country, all countries. Nigeria, Father Vincent talks about just so much evil in the government, even the corruption and the horrible things done. He says just people kidnapped, taken, and killed, especially Christians, priests, ministers, asked for ransom, paid the ransom, still kill them. Or don't even ask for a ransom, just kill him. He's always at risk. Every day he's at risk. And, but other people, just anyone out there, it's just a lot of evil. And the government doesn't stop it. The government, in some instances, is behind it, trying to suppress certain groups or to get money, to tax people or to take over. They'll do different kinds of killing their livelihoods, keeping them down, keeping them uneducated and poor and manipulated, controllable. So I think this is a miracle not to ever see evil and not to ever have it come in mind. And the person does know evil is weak, and yes, that is so true. The devil is, we just take someone who the devil's gotten into. They're very insecure. The devil's very insecure. Ultimately, and basically, the devil knows that God is always going to be more powerful. The devil's never going to be God. As much as he wants to be God, wants to have that power. So the devil does these stupid little things, doing the shock element, which, boy, that shocked me, seeing that gun barrel out the window, that rifle. Well, if I'd not watched probably Rifleman, a show when I was little, I wouldn't have known what a rifle looked like. My dad had a shotgun. He would shoot it on New Year's Eve. Oh, we were all, everybody in the neighborhood, their dad's going to shoot his shotgun in the air and, make this boom. And that was a big thrill for them all. He had hunted some. Maybe it was there. He had it for protection, always hidden up on a shelf, and we were never to touch it. But it was never kept loaded or anything. But that was, so I recognized that it was but just in a split second, recognized that was a rifle there. Well, and then heard the noise and immediately felt this pain in this bone here in my side of my head, and I didn't know if I was going to drop to the ground. I had no idea. But I had been exposed. I had seen probably in Perry Mason or something, somebody, dropped to the ground being shot. And that's why I thought, well, maybe that's what's going to happen to me. Maybe I'll just, I don't know. So, but then when I didn't, I just walked as fast as I could, but burst into tears. So, I just find this miraculous that, and it's good, I guess, for this person, because the person knows evil is weak, but thinks that the devil will enter if you think it will. And yes, that's true, I think. If you think the devil is going to enter into your mind and sort of anticipate it or dwell on it, it's sort of like an invitation to the devil then. It's like putting up an open house sign, you know. So I don't recommend that. But the devil can get into these are the levels that the devil can get into, can and interfere with. Can interfere with the outer senses and the inner senses. Can interfere with our emotions, our memories, such as in dreams. The devil's allowed to get into our imagination also, into the images, imagination, into our dreams, or even into our waking imagination. Or like if we're reading something that's not very good there's a medium line of good and not good, and that split there. And every thought we have, every step we take, every action we make, every word we speak, and again, every thought we have, every feeling we have, is either one of good or one of not good. That's the dualities of our humanness on earth. And so, but the devil is allowed into all these levels: emotion, senses, memory, our imagination, just by my memories and sharing things of my exposures to evil when I was little. That's in the memory. Now, the devil could use that if I would allow, but I'm not. But other people do. They'll remember something that happened to them and they'll repeat it themselves. They'll let the devil influence them. Get back for what happened to you. Or condemn that person and do something to them. Or do the same thing to these that was done to you. You know, planted the seed with that evil. The evil and the devil in that person then can plant the thought and through doing something to another. But this person here has never had evil done to her or him. So that's why the person doesn't understand that the devil can get into your thoughts but not control your will, and doesn't control your thoughts, doesn't control your mind, your intellect, because God will not allow the devil to come into our souls, not to interfere with our souls. Our souls contain our intellect and our will. But if we let the devil, if we do things or take into our mind ugliness and horrible, evil ideas and thoughts and anger, got the emotion. Say that Ivy League kid. Well, he's 26 now. He's a little bit more than a kid. Some news outlets refer to him as an Ivy League kid. No, he's a young adult, or he's an adult, 26, and he decided he was going to do something about insurance sales. How much these insurance companies get and how people get ripped off. He wasn't ripped off, but he decided he was going to change the world and kill this CEO of the major United States insurance company. So he shot him in the back, stalked him and shot him dead, right on the street in Manhattan, front of the conference hotel. And he was surprised. He thought he was so smart. He was surprised he even got caught. But he did, and he's got all these high-powered lawyers now, And some people are even thinking he was justified to kill. He's got a little group, he's got groupies who are all for it. But see that his mind and his intellect and his will, the devil couldn't do that. But he himself allowed it. He allowed it. The devil maybe used his emotions, got him worked up, maybe used some other aspect of him that's off kilter, got more liberalized or more radicalized in some way. Same with the man who killed many people in New Orleans recently. New Year's Day. Drove a truck and just mowed them down with the truck. And then had planned to do explosions, but he was shot first by the police, shot and killed. But that man, evil did, he allowed evil into his intellect and his will, because he allowed himself then to be radicalized by ISIS, Islamic terrorist ideologies, whether it was direct people doing it or his own ideologies and reading about it and getting worked up. So that's when we cross the line with our intellect and our will, and we act on our thought that we have allowed evil in ourselves. But as far as our emotions, like anger and all different things like that, sadness or depression, or that can be in part of us. If we don't take medication for like depression, or to try to work on it or get therapy, the devil has free ability to get into all these other aspects. This is from John of the Cross, and before him some others had started this theologic understanding, this reality, through study and through insights from God about the devil, to understand the enemy. It's in Scripture. So I from experience, just thinking about the devil is not going to, and my even explaining about him doesn't have him enter me. My will blocks it, my intellect blocks it, and God in me. But other people, we all have God in us. Some of these people, well, the man who got radicalized. He believed in God. He was reared Christian at some point and then became Muslim. Muslims believe in God. But he got into the evil. Evil got in. And but these are the levels. The devil is allowed and has free reign if we allow to mess with our emotions, or our senses is the outer level. The senses, inner and outer senses, the emotions, memory, the imagination, understanding is part of it too. Can, not often. But, and then from there on, cannot get into the intellect and the will, into the soul. So we have to protect ourselves. Armor of God time. But awareness, for example, had I known about narcissistic sociopaths and their traits and how they behave and why they do, and that some of it becomes a learned choice. Evil gets in, and then they perpetuate evil. Had I known these things, I would have recognized it early on. And I would have, had I not been so unaware in a way of evil and how easily evil can use people. The devil can use people easily. And it's just one gradation from the imagination level and the understanding level and memories for us then to be infiltrated and open up our intellects to it and our will. Then it weakens our will. Well, what would it hurt? Or I'm doing it for a good cause. The devil is very good at manipulation, deceiving, twisting. He's the author of lies. Read about him in the Bible. See what he did in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. The different ways how he got into these priests, and the people who were so evil to Christ. So, and they weren't dwelling on the devil, and that wasn't the reason the devil got in. They had other weak points. They had other weak areas. Pride. They thought that some of these priests probably, if you had said, well, you've got the devil in you, the way you're acting toward the Son of God, and going to kill him and want to kill him and planning to kill him, plotting, getting Judas and taking his money, or giving him money to set up the sting operation to get Jesus to betray him. It's all evil. But if anybody had said to these high priests that they had the devil in, they would have denied it. They'd think, well, the devil isn't in me. The devil can't get in my mind. Can't make my will do anything. I'm a priest. See, that's a trick of the devil right there, to deceive. So you think that the devil can't get in and won't. So just be very careful. And I'm not saying this person has obviously a miraculous gift from God. I've never known of anyone with such a gift, but it's wonderful. And this person, I know, needs to prize that gift, but I hope will be cautious too, because, read the Bible about the devil. Be aware, be alert, understand and know the enemy. Know the enemy. Saves a lot of grief in life. Even on the island house, I just remember when I was looking at it, which trying to get something, and the realtor said something just once, and it struck me. It's the front flag. But I needed a place to move. That I was running out of, and I'd fallen. That the devil had worked in my senses. I loved the beauty of that island, and the idea of getting far away. Because I could have moved closer to my other daughter, where it would have been less expensive and would have been near my granddaughters then. But all the trouble I'd had in that same area, just 2 hour and a half away, I felt like it was just a different diocese. That what would be my chances of having a fresh start even with the church there? So I had a lot of things, and also the pain medicine thing was a problem. I knew I couldn't get pain meds back there. Dr. Friend told me, don't come back here, you won't get pain meds. It's a state that's very rigid, and none of us are even supposed to give any out for anything. But God was giving me a warning. The Holy Spirit was something this realtor said. And how her head was, I just see her there, how she said it, how she threw her head back and sort of looked around. Well, I could live here. I could live here. And she was very well off. And no way. I told somebody later who knew her that what they said, what? That's a bunch of crock. She could, just, it was a snare. But the Holy Spirit was trying to, he was red flagging it for me. But it was a beautiful piece of property. And I should have known by the price. But it seemed okay. But then when the inspector said, well, just these things are wrong, but not anything else. The roof's fine, everything else. No, nothing was fine. The plumbing wasn't fine, like he said. The whole thing was a tear. I had to redo the whole thing, tear out everything, and learn. But God got me through. But it just, that's how it can work. How just little, and I still have this nature about me that thinks surely not. Well, I thought, well, gosh, maybe she could live here. If she could live here, I can live here, and so, but no, she couldn't have made it there, I don't think. Well, she could. She had the money, but it was a ploy, a sales ploy. And my daughter, who was with me, she had picked up on that too. Later on, we were going back over it. And I said, that sort of struck me. But then when the inspection wasn't that terrible, she says, I heard her say that. And it seemed, she says, that sort of caught me too as something not right. So see, being naive to the evil one, I don't know, maybe it's as well to see evil and to know it and to know what we're dealing with, know the enemy. I don't know. But unless you have a gift like this person, if you have a gift like this person, I guess you're home free. But just not thinking about the devil isn't going to mean the devil isn't ever going to get to you. Just so you know that. That's a deception right there. But if you think a lot about the devil, yes. If you're intrigued by the devil or always worrying about the devil going to get you, because that'll bring the devil right then for you. If you get into fear, the devil loves fear. That's a come on for the devil, a big come on. So you don't want to do that. And there's no reason to be thinking about the devil. But educate yourself. Think about the devil enough so that you know what the devil is and all the ways the devil can manipulate. And then, but know that you're in God and God's in you, and that God will always conquer the devil. In my life, God has always conquered. And yes, I've lost things in life. It's all been temporal. And, and if I had remained bitter or fretting, then the devil would still have me, trick me. So you can't be like that. You have to see as God sees things, or keep trying to see that way. I don't see as God, but I'm trying to. I'm trying to learn. And to realize that the temporal's always passing anyway, and that God always provides. That, when we get tricked by the devil, that we admit it and say how sorry we are and say, help me learn to recognize evil and to know how to conquer it, how to deal with it through prayer, through love, through walking away, staying clear, not dwelling on it. Agree with that. Don't dwell on it. Don't think on the devil all the time. Don't wake up thinking, oh, what's the devil going to do to me today? or go to bed at night. Oh, is he going to come in a dream again tonight? It's hard, especially if you're going through that phase where the devil's trying that with your dreams. But you just got to read scripture before bed, pray, ask God's protection, know that you're protected. And then learn like the Curé d'Ars, St. John Vianney. The devil would hassle him at night. He barely had sleep anyway because he had so many confessions and preaching during the day, and so many people came to him. But the devil would try to keep him awake at night, shaking the bed, moving it across the room, having flames all around his bed, even caught the bedclothes on fire at one point, threw him out of bed, beat him up. But God provided, and John Vianney learned just to laugh about it, and so you can't let it get to you. So, but anyway, that's what I know of the devil from reading a lot about it. I think I showed you that book. It has the book cover on it. The title of it's called Satan. I read that. I read other books. Spiritual Combat, How to Deal with Evil and with the Devil, because he certainly has been in my life. He's tried and tried, and will, even at people's deathbed, the devil will. St. Faustina, she put holy water on a friend who was dying because the friend was being accosted by demons. Faustina couldn't see them. It's another sister it was. But the sister was describing that the demons were around her bed. That can happen in deaths where a good person passing in the process of dying. And the devil has one more go at it, trying to get the person to falter and to panic so much that they don't think about God. That's the main thing, is think about God. Think about God. Let God be in our thoughts. And keep a strong will. And always make whatever step, thought, word, feeling we make it a step toward heaven and good. Not in the middle, not a step toward hell. Because they all will be. There's this a line of demarcation and keep your conscience strong and clear. And if you're with someone who's pulling you one way, get away from that person. And I did mention that to my friend, who this woman kept badgering her, trying to keep her from reading her spiritual stuff. I said, don't give in every day. Maybe give her one day, or give her 10 minutes out of your half-hour lunch and say, I have 10 minutes, we can talk, then I'm going to go to my car and do my reading and praying. Because the woman knew that's what she was doing. So otherwise she could have just gone out there. And she could have said, I just need to have quiet time. Well, quiet time can mean devotions to people. She wouldn't be lying. So, okay, it's more than enough. God bless, but I just found it, that was an amazing gift. I wanted to acknowledge that. And it did bring up a lot of other discussion, though, that was good. Things that I'd forgotten about. And one thing was that I'm going to do in a separate video, because I did some research on the church it was in. But it was an exorcism that we happened upon. So, and there was that, how did that happen to that person then? So it can happen to people. Possession can happen. And there's other things that can happen, even generational through birth. And it's a reality. The chief exorcist of Rome for 40 years wrote these books and explains these things. So I'm going to go over that in another video, because this is important. Don't be deceived and don't poo-poo it. But like this person says, don't don't just dwell on it. Don't think about it all the time either, or a lot. Think about God. And be solid in God. But it might be unrealistic to think that we're not going to notice evil. We're Christians. We need to react and do what we do. Pray, and cast out evil, cast out demons. So if we don't see them, how are we going to learn to cast them out? Jesus tells us to cast out demons. So just a little difference there of approach, I think, and understanding of it. All right, enough. God bless you all. And thank you, Lord, for always providing and always having power over the devil and being in us. We are surrounded by the armor of God.